All right, hey everybody, TG Watkins here. Let's make sure we got everything up and running. Been having a little bit of technical issues over the last couple days because basically I've been trying to work with a VPN, and that thing has been giving me some troubles. So let's see. Let me get one more thing up and running. Again, probably because of this VPN. And later today, starting 15 minutes after the market closes, I do have a webinar, a market update webinar. It's going to be free that I'm going to be putting on. You can see today. So we're going to be talking about basically 2023. It has been one of the more hotly contested markets. And let's see, we guys should get, yep, there we go. We should be in the Moxie room now too. And yeah, we're going to be doing the update webinar here 15 minutes after the market closed today. I'll be on Facebook, YouTube, and a couple other places, and then we will have it recorded so you guys can always check it out. But yeah, one of the more hotly contested beginnings of the year. Is it bullish or is it bearish? And I think you guys kind of been aware of what's been going on out there. Just a ton of arguments back and forth. So I'm going to just show you a few things that I kind of see out there, some internals, some breadth, and we'll talk about some historical stuff as well and some historical precedents. So should be pretty interesting. Tune in and hope to see you guys there. All right. So as far as what we're dealing with now, we are in March. So welcome to March 1st. It's my brother's birthday. And then let's see, if we kind of look at the higher time frames, what I wanted to be showing is here. Let's get this chart pulled up. There we go. And for now, we have one full monthly bar closed over the monthly 10. And this has been a little bit of a line in the sand that I've been looking at, studying back some historical charts and whatever. And a lot of times, if the market can get over the monthly 10, it does bode pretty well. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's 100%, doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but it does mean that we've kind of neutralized the downtrend. The other thing I've been noticing is that most of the indices have come into their monthly 50 SMA and something around their weekly 200, and they've held. And now we need to see if this continues. Seasonality tends to show that March is actually pretty good. And again, seasonality shows that February is weak. And that's exactly what we have been seeing in through here. Let's see if I can get this up. Yeah, my computer is just slow with all this stuff I have with the VPN thing. Really got to work on this. All right, so I'm trying to get Friday or February up here. But yeah, there we go. So for February, we can see, because we started February right around here, so had a bit of a up A right in there. And you can see that other than the little peak that we had, which was kind of mostly residual from the January, you can see that February has been weak. This is pretty normal. February has a weak seasonality, usually because we try to figure out if January is going to be positive, and that kind of gives us our flavor for the year. So we also know that because if you look here on the daily chart, we were just very overbought. In fact, we were seeing this. I was talking to all the Moxie traders in the Moxie group about all this kind of stuff. You can see that there was just a very similar pattern here and here, where price really had a pretty good run and pulled away from some moving averages, and it was basically expected that we should be pulling back like that. And it wasn't the clearest on the SPY, but if we do look at the IWM, we could see that we had a pretty good setup right here. This is what I call an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. So that is what I call an inverse trampoline move. And that was, as I said, very clear on the IWM hourly chart. And that helped tell us that this little bounce right here was going to get sold into, and that price was likely to continue to move back down here. And we did see that across the board. So now that we have pulled back, now we've kind of reached here, this is where we need to start figuring out if the market is pulling back into strength or if it is pulling back into weakness. And I do not have that answer yet. We need more time to go by, because you can see here from December to January, the market kind of looked, the indexes looked pretty bad. They looked rough. They were chopping around and we couldn't tell which way they were going to go. But day by day, the Moxie indicator continued to grow and move to the upside. So I'm going to be looking for that and seeing if we get something similar, or if it's going to be, we slide over here to where, you know, these bounces that we get continue to run into resistance and we continue to go lower. So we just really need to let more time go by. The other thing is, if we kind of look over here and we look at the bigger picture, let me kind of zoom back out on this. There's also the possibility that, you know what, we really may not go anywhere too excitingly in the near future. You know, we've looked at the IWM. Look how long this thing has been sideways, and it can continue to be sideways for quite some time. And we look at the Dow, and look what it's been doing. It has been sideways for a very long time. Yes, there have been some up, down moves in through here, but I mean, really, it has been in this range for several months. So I think we just kind of need to be aware that we may not really get a very exciting bull market, but we also may not be getting a terrible bear market. You know, maybe a lot of this has kind of been, well, not repriced, but like moved down, found its equilibrium for now, and we have to see if the market wants to kind of, you know, keep digesting this, because there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, we still have the Russia-Ukraine war going on. I think that's going on, it's now second year. And, you know, we also have inflation, and we have interest rates, and we have all this stuff out there going around that the market is trying to digest. And, you know, perhaps that this is actually, given all that, been pretty good. You know, this could be argued that, you know, that this had a fairly decent pullback, bear market correction, and maybe, you know, it's kind of done what it needs to do, and now it's resting for a while. And it can do this for a while. It can also continue to move down like this, but without imploding. So there are possibilities out there. This is kind of some of the stuff that I'll be talking about in tonight's webinar. We'll go deeper. I've got a ton of stuff to show you guys, and I think you'll find it very interesting, very enlightening. All right, so as far as that goes, some of the other bigger names that I've been looking at, and we use, like, you know, let's start with Microsoft. This has been doing the patterns that I've been looking for, namely the pullback to the daily 50. This is a common thing that I look for. You can see here, pulled back to the 50, pulled back to the 50, and again, we have pulled back to the 50. And now we need to figure out if Microsoft is going to use the 50 or that area as support, or if it's going to continue to move down below the 50, okay? So that's kind of where we're at, because a lot of these things are right at potential support, and now we need to see what they're going to do. And if we look at Amazon, same kind of deal. You see here how we have Amazon back down to the daily 50. Now we need to figure out if this is actually going to be a support area or not. You can see last time it got down to the 50, it was not support. And last time it got down to the 50, it was not support. We can look at Amazon, that's Google then, in through here. And this one's gone a little bit further. So this is okay. You know, when I talk about a trampoline move, remember that is priced below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. So this is why even on Amazon and Microsoft, I said we need to see if the daily 50 area is support, because it doesn't have to hold the 50 exactly. It just, you know, if it's going to be weak, we just need to see if it's going to do something big like that, or something big like that to where it's really, really going to come down. But if it kind of comes down to this area, because I mean, look at this, even with Google, you know, there's a fairly good level here. Again, the whole market's kind of been just going sideways for quite some time. But the Moxie traders know that this is a 50, 250 maneuver, and that we had that pullback, and so that all made sense. Now I show you these so that you can kind of see some of these examples of what I'm looking for, or I'm looking at, and I find it interesting that you then come over to Apple, and now it's doing it, but it's doing it very slowly. But notice how there's still room to get down to the daily 50. So I want to see if that is actually going to continue to move down and what that might mean for the market. Remember, you know, last time that it got down to the daily 50, it did not hold. And so you can see that, yes, price went even further down below the daily 50. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. We're trying to see, is this going to be into weakness, or is it just going to kind of stay in this area, and do we actually start to move back up? Okay, so that's Apple, and then Tesla, kind of doing these in orders of strength. You can see Tesla has still been hanging up there. Now, I did my weekly video last week, And we talked about this. Basically, I'm doing a follow-up from that last time. And, based on my patterns, we should expect Tesla to come back down to the daily 50 at some point. That's really kind of the question is, how and when. There is the possibility, like we looked here, that it's not, and I always say that it's going to go to, say, the 50. That doesn't mean it's going to go right to here. It means wherever the 50 is. Now, if Tesla is going to take its time, the 50 is going to continue to move up as time moves on. So when it does meet the 50, it won't be at the same dollar amount. Okay, so that's why I use moving averages, because they move and they're important. And I can't just say, oh, it's going to hit 150. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way for me. It's the moving average, and so it's wherever that ends up, over the course of time. So we'll have to see what that wants to do. But you can see here, that's why I'm talking about, and I figure that we should at some point see price and the daily 50 basically meet up with each other. We saw that Microsoft, Amazon, Google, I mean, you name it, they've all done it. Apple is on its way, and Tesla is the last one. So maybe if this actually does happen, there's still an opportunity. If you guys really want to, there might still be an opportunity to play this down to the 50, wherever that ends up. Or, I know a lot of you are options traders. You can be selling some calls and stuff up here, given the fact that either this isn't going to move up to the upside or it's going to kind of pull back down like this. So those are some ideas. Heck, I can even show you guys Burlington. And you can see here. Now, this one kind of faked me out a couple times. I was in here looking around trying to trade short and through here. But notice it did not get to the 50. Kind of amazing. I was actually really surprised about that. But now look at this. Now you can see it's starting to work, okay? And the way that was happening was here on the hourly chart. Notice that the Moxie indicator was below zero and staying below zero, even with price up here. Kind of had this head and shoulders pattern right there. And if we really zoom in on the hourly chart, let me get this for you. You can see that we had two inverse trampoline moves. Remember, price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero, and you can even see this last one right there. Price got rejected, ran right into the underside of the hourly 50, the Moxie indicator below zero, and this continues to move down. Now, just be careful. We do have earnings, I think, tomorrow morning, something like that. And, anything goes for earnings, so really can't say too much, but I do find it interesting that volume has been picking up as this has been rolling over. It does seem awfully high to me, and kind of crazy that it has been able to do what it's been doing. Let me show you this on even the monthly chart. I mean, this thing is pretty sky high. I mean, Moxie traders over there, if you guys are hearing me, the 50-250 maneuver. Well, in this case, I wonder if we can do a 10-50-10 maneuver. Kind of like what we're seeing on the weekly chart, another 50-250 maneuver. So maybe give it a long time because, these are monthly, weekly charts, so it will take time to do that. But I am looking at that and wondering if that is something that will be happening. So yeah, be careful on the long side for something like this. But, tops take a long time to form. They don't go straight down typically, and so these things can definitely be messy. Lakshmi, good to see you, man. Yeah, thanks for reaching out. I'm doing well. I got back from Hawaii with my wife. We did that last week. I think you guys probably saw the pictures and things that I posted up there. So it's good to kind of get back. I don't think we missed too much. The market's been pulling back for the last week, and so that was a great timing, great send off. So I went away. We had closed up all our positions, and the market started pulling back as I was able to call, and that's been doing well. Now, one of the other things, speaking of, looking at the UVXY, we do need to keep an eye on this because I am seeing some indications that, it has been flagging and basing. That might mean something. And this is really kind of where I've been just watching it and observing it and trying to see if it means something similar to what we saw in August, to where the UVXY really started to move up. There is the possibility for that because, this has been going sideways and the Moxie indicator has been growing. And we do see that the hourly 50 is over the hourly 200. So this is either going to turn into something, or this was just flagging to kind of fix its oversold condition, and maybe because there have been traders getting ready for a pullback, which the market has been doing, but it really hasn't gone anywhere. And this is where I've talked about, what was it? I think it was right there, December, January, right in through here. you can see that the Moxie indicator, UVXY, even though it went sideways for a while, could not really get any traction, couldn't do anything, and continued to move down. And that was the signal, according to the UVXY, saying that the market was actually going to go up after it finished its pullback. So I'm leaving my mindset open that that's a possibility here too, that the UVXY is really just kind of going sideways because of the uncertainty with the market, and that the market is pulling back. But what you'll notice is, for as much as the market pulled back and went down, UVXI really didn't do much. So I am aware of that, but we need to just keep an eye and make sure that this doesn't start to really explode like it did in August. If that happens, then yeah, the market's gonna have a lot of pressure. Yeah, let's see. So, actually, the first time you were listening to me with Mara, man, Mara at 1.5, that must have been a while ago. I don't know if it was this year or if that was back in 2020. I've been kind of talking about Mara again lately. Now, they were supposed to have earnings today. They changed that. Yeah, I guess it was yesterday, something like that. They changed it, so I don't think any news actually came out yet. It looks like there might have been a little bit of a move up in anticipation of that. But I've been watching this and saying, this looks pretty constructive for being Bitcoin related. This is doing quite well. It does not have to work. It can change, but the fact that it has gotten over the daily 50, tested the daily 50, and basically is here flagging into an uptrending daily 50. I mean, if I were just trading this in a vacuum, that looks great. It looks really, really great. If I take this and look down a little bit lower, though, there have been some moves. You see right here. Now, Lakshmi, as far as, yes, you still believe in the power of the Moxie indicator, totally. Look at this. So this is what I was talking to the Moxie subscribers about yesterday. We had a deep dive on a lot of things yesterday as part of their subscriptions. And even though this was a fairly big move, and I missed it because it did not set up on the hourly chart, it did set up on the 15-minute time frame. But since I didn't see it on the time frame I was expecting, it did have a big move. But you know what? The Moxie indicator helps you know when to not chase something like this. So if an indicator can help you get into a trade and make money, great. But if it can also help you stay out of a trade that you'd either otherwise screw up or lose money on, or just something like that, then that is also great. You want something that can tell you when not to go. And you can see here that even though price got over the hourly 50, what did the Moxie indicator do? It was still below zero. So this was an inverse trampoline move. It was basically a false long. Like, sure, you can trade it if you were able to catch something like that. But as far as not getting suckered into something right here and thinking it was really going to go higher, the Moxie indicator did its job. And there was actually no setup on the hourly chart. Again, this is why I missed it, is because it was only a setup on the 15-minute time frame. There was no setup on the hourly chart. You can see price went down, the Moxie indicator went down. And then you had price move up, and you had the Moxie indicator move. There was no divergence. No divergence. Nothing was setting this up. You want divergence like this, where you have price down and the Moxie indicator is either sideways up. Now that's divergence. But we didn't get any of that. And so that's how I knew, hey, let's not chase this. And if anything, wait for price to come back down to the moving average, which it did. But it still didn't hold, and there still just hasn't been a setup here. And we were supposed to have earnings, but they didn't have anything yet. And so now we really just wait. This has kind of been a bit of the market lately, is that it's just been going sideways. And I would make the argument, interestingly enough, and I posted this to the Moxie group while I was on vacation in Hawaii, that visually, right in through here, when the market was pulling back, like Mara didn't really do anything. Yes, there were some dips and things like this, but really, if you look at this compared to what the market did, it's going sideways. I would view that as relative strength. Now, there's nothing I can do about it yet, but I'm viewing it as generally relative strength. And you can see that Hut kind of did the same thing. They're all kind of doing it in their own little way. You can see there's kind of a double bottom in through here. We have some divergence here, and pulling back right into an uptrending daily 50. So keeping an eye on these things. There is a lot of volume. And look at the volume that has been, oops, I don't know how I keep doing that. A lot of volume that has been coming into this. So it's kind of got my interest, and we'll have to see what this does. Yeah, Lakshmi, yeah, back in 2020 was amazing for so many things, and it's been a while since we've had a good market like that, so we're going to have to kind of still ride a few things out. Silver, Jay, we talked about precious metals yesterday with the Moxie group as well. I had, well, actually spent a fair amount of good time on that one, so I'll give you like the 30-second rundown of kind of what we talked about, but silver, GDX, gold in general, you can see here that they've all pretty much pulled back, and this is good. This is normal. This is what we were expecting. I called this one too, because you can see that silver went from the low to the high, and it deserved a break. In fact, you know, this is like the 50% retracement on that move. So this looks pretty darn normal for now, and I would be looking at this and saying, it is now sitting on these moving averages on the higher time frame. It's not exactly sitting on them on the weekly chart, but it has done a pullback, and I think that that could be good. And if we look down here on the hourly and daily chart, remember the divergences I was just talking about with, say, Mara, you know, like how that move on the hourly chart did not have any divergences. Now look, price down, Moxie indicator up. Now you have some divergence, okay? This is starting to speak to me. You know, the precious metals are starting to say something. Yeah, they got hammered. Sure, they got hammered. But this might be a pretty constructive pullback. I mean, we were looking for this. In fact, AJ, look at this. You see here how price kept trying to get over and over and over and over the hourly 50? Those are all fake outs. And you know how we could figure that out and how the Moxie indicator kept you safe? This is my point. The Moxie indicator not just gets you in trades, it keeps you out of bad trades. And the reason we could tell that was right here. Notice how the Moxie indicator was staying. It was persisting below zero. So that was telling you that, say, this flag here on the daily chart. So, you know, because if you didn't have the Moxie indicator, you'd be looking at this being like, wow, this is really strong. Look at this. And it comes down to the 50 and comes back up and then starts to go. And you might start buying this thinking it's going to go up like that, only to have it then, you know, just go the other direction. Now, is there a way that something out there can help you figure this out, that, hey, this actually was not a good, strong, healthy flag, that this was actually problematic? Well, gee, yes, look at that. It's the Moxie indicator. Okay, so the Moxie indicator has been staying below zero despite price trying to move up here on the hourly chart. That is what kept you out of this trade. Okay, so I really love that one. And then you can see that maybe we're starting to see some positive divergence here on the hourly chart, and there could be a move starting to set up like this. We did start to see that in, I think, GDX. It's kind of been moving today. Yep, there you go. So you can see here, price down, Moxie indicator went flat, and now look at this, starting to move up. Okay, so things are starting to happen in through here that I think we should pay attention to. Is it good to have a swing trade? Well, which direction? That's always important to know. I can't say too much unless I know which direction. But like I was kind of, okay, so bullish. This is kind of what I was saying about Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all these things, is that I was expecting a pullback. We got that. You know, here's the Moxie price trigger. We were expecting a pullback. And yes, now we've gotten that pullback. Now, is the pullback finished? We don't know yet because it hasn't actually turned yet. And just like in December and January, you can see that that was a little bit sneaky. You know, it kind of came down, bounced a little bit, came back down again. Look what it did, double bottom, and then it started taking off, okay? And you can see within that, there was some positive divergence. Now, you can see we're still below the hourly 50. We also cannot confirm that this double bottom is in yet. We don't know until it actually works. And then the Moxie indicator, it's still not really doing much. Like it's kind of looking pretty muted. And perhaps the NASDAQ still has room to the daily 50. Maybe it wants to go lower. Maybe the SPY wants to go lower. So we really just don't have enough information yet. It is still in process of its pullback, and it hasn't really given us any signals yet to go bullish or that it has stopped its pullback. We just don't know yet. So we really just need to kind of keep waiting and watching and seeing if this pullback is into strength or into weakness. You know, this was a pullback into strength. This was a pullback into weakness. And that's what we're trying to determine right now. And we just don't have enough information yet because it really just nothing really has kind of happened yet. So, we're just waiting. Still kind of, you got to be patient on this. I think we have some non-farm payroll coming up this Friday, something like that. I need to look at the calendar and see. I know there's something this week. Maybe it's Thursday night, coming up. So that's where we're at. And remember, we'll be talking about a lot of this. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's get one more thing. Try that back up here. Man, my computer is so slow. All right, tonight, this afternoon, depending on your time zone, right after the market, I'm going to be doing a bull-bear market update. And again, I think that is truth in advertising right there, because this is one of the more hotly contested markets right now. Because, well, hey, we're going sideways. So are we about to fall off a cliff, or are we actually building a base to go higher? I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of things that I think you'll be interested in, and we'll be going through all that today. So looking forward to it. We'll see you Facebook, YouTube, free trading room, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see you somewhere. All right, thanks again.